Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Okay. So, we are on a very beautiful verse that we talk about it a lot, and this verse 39. But just to give you a background of what we did and remind you last week was verse 38, जिसमें कृष्ण ने भगवान ने कहा, certainly there is no purifier in this world like knowledge. He who is himself perfected in yoga finds it finds it in himself in good time. So basically it was that self-knowledge is the best purifier in the world, and then we had discussed how it annihilates the ahankar completely. That's what it does. So other sadhanas purify the mind, but they don't purify completely. But once you get the self-knowledge, it's a complete purification. And then he also said that one who is himself perfected in yoga, meaning he's talking about karma yoga. Once you get perfected in the path, in good time, he didn't give a fixed time. So we cannot insist on any fixed time. Our job is to keep purifying, and then in good time it will happen. That's what the verse was. So let's, whoever has the Geeta, verse 39 of chapter 4, you can open it. And I'm going to chant. Shraddhavan labhate gnanam tatpara sanyatendriyah Jnanam labdva param shantim achirena gacchati. So we have talked about the Shraddha Man Labhate Gnanam so much, but then in the verse there are other things also. So that's what it is. In Bhagavad Gita we cannot just take that one segment. We have to see what Krishna Bhagavan is saying together. We'll see. So what in the earlier verses, Krishna Bhagavan glorified this knowledge a lot, and then he said how to attain this knowledge. You approach the teacher. Remember those couple of things that you have to have humility, and you do seva, and then you ask questions. So suppose if somebody approaches the teacher, does the namaskar, is doing the seva, asking question, but has no shraddha, no problem, then nothing is going to happen. So, what is this Shraddha? We have discussed it, but we will go in more in detail. So, first of all, Shraddha in what? That's another thing. So, here, when they talk about Shraddha in Vedanta, it is Shraddha in the scriptures itself also. Because a lot of people, wo to 5,000 saal pehle hua tha, that doesn't apply now. They have these strange ideas about those kind of things. Then it also is not going to work. So you have to have a shraddha that whatever the scriptures are saying about self-knowledge, it's true. And then the shraddha in the teacher, that the teacher is going to deliver. And then here, we are always say, our guru over here is Chinmayananji. So Chinmayananji has, with his own experience of that Brahman, he's going to explain, and I have shraddha in that, my teacher, my scriptures, and in myself also. Think. जो को म्यूट करना होगा, okay, I'll mute him, and कमला जी को म्यूट करना होगा. Yeah, okay. So so I was talking about the Shraddha in ourselves. Also we need to have, because if you have Shraddha in everything, but you think, oh, I cannot do it, again there's a problem. So when he's talking about Shraddha, it is everywhere it applies, that, hey, if God has given me this human life, I can do it. So that's also very important. So, and the Shraddha in that ultimate truth also. That yes, once I get that ultimate truth, my thing will be annihilated. Shireen has to mute. I can mute it. Okay. So So now we see that what the scriptures are saying is that they are telling you about Brahman, and they are saying Tattvamasi, you are that. So first we have to accept it. Yes, I am that. Even though right now I don't experience it. That's very normal. So, oh my God, how can I be God or something? But if they are saying maybe there is something to it. So that kind of thing, because I was saying that when first you are introduced to Vedanta, and you have never heard of these things, in the beginning they sound very outlandish. But then as they unfold it, then we realize, but we have to have Shraddha in that, before we move. And then this, I see sometime in our class also, oh, this person is ahead of me, that person is, wo sab bhi we have to drop, and we have to just believe, because we cannot say, oh, ye abhi mujhse nahi hoga, agle janam mein hoga, and all that. Usme wo thoda sa laziness aa jata hai. And it's kind of interesting that at one point, Chinmayanand said, when we talk about Hindus, meaning Sanatan Dharma people from India, and you take the Christians, so Christian mein, because they don't believe in other lives, so bolte ki they have the urgency कि जो करना है अभी करो, otherwise you'll be burning in hell. It's a wrong thing, but उससे यही फायदा होता है कि लोग लेजी नहीं बनते और अपने इंडिया में अगला जन्म में देखेंगे ये वो. So we should not leave it to the agla janam and all that. It's just, okay, God has given me and I can do it in this. So that kind of confidence and shraddha we have to develop in it, And then one second. So what main thing about shraddha is this. When we talk about shraddha, it cannot be blind faith. Because one of the problems happens in blind faith is that, oh, kisi ne bola, and I'm just listening to it, and that's what it is, true. I'm not doing my own thinking. I am not contemplating deeply upon myself. So Shankaracharya ji, you will see in the commentary of Chinmayanand ji, is going to give a definition of shraddha, which is going to say that you comprehend it correctly. That is a real shraddha, because otherwise what happens is that this word shraddha has been misused by a lot of people. And like in India, they all those pandits, oh, jo main bolta hu usme vishwas rakho, nahi to ye ho jayega, wo ho jayega. Not that kind of blind faith, because that causes fanaticism, and superstitions and all. That's not what he's talking about. That, true shraddha is getting the right message from them, making the effort to get right message and to comprehend properly. That is very, very important. And so don't get stuck at shraddha, because what he's telling is it's a belief that what they are saying is true, but always make that effort not to fall into blind faith. Very dangerous arena about that. And he was saying that a lot of people in India, one of the Swamis, he said that a lot of people in India, what they will do, हाँ जी मुझे बहुत श्रद्धा है भगवद गीता में, फिर वो भगवद गीता को रख के बस पूजा वूजा कर लेंगे, यानी से कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ में इट इज़ गुड, दैट वो मैं गीता पे हाथ रख के बोलता हूँ, जो बोलता हूँ सच बोलूँगा वगैरह वगैरह, उतना ही वैल्यू है. If you don't open it up, study it, and follow the path, then it is. So only Shraddha is not going to do it. Because even though the first part of it says Shraddhavan labhate gnanam, that is important, but the next word immediately is tatparaha. So let's see this word. If you look at your verse, it says Shraddhavan labhate gnanam tatparaha sanyatendriya. So actually there are three things he's talking about. Shraddha and tatpara is what? तत्पर मीन्स हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, एक जिसको हम लोग सब हिंदी स्पीकिंग है, उसमें बहुत तत्पर है वो. मीन्स ईगर, मीन्स like there's a part of devotion in it too, because some people use this word tatpara as a devotion. Devotion में worldly sense में भी devotion का क्या meaning होता है? What am I devoted to usually? What I really want to do, I become devoted to it. Isn't that true for all of us? जो हम बिल्कुल करना चाहते हैं उसमें devoted हो जाते हैं. So that tatpara word has a devotion in it, ready to follow. intend on getting it. That's what it is. So, energy to pursue the path, ready to put the effort, day and night, that's what tatpara. So, Shraddha ke saath tatpara bhi chahiye. Khali Shraddha se kuch nahi hone wala, So, that's what the other thing is. So, when we keep saying Shraddhavan Labte Gnanam, that's the first step, but tatpara, you have to immediately add that tatparta to it. And so, he gave an example. The Swami gave an example that, okay, somebody told you about this nice, beautiful place that they saw. And they said, hey, this is so beautiful. And you say, yeah, this person knows what he's talking about. So Shraddha is there. And he's saying, yeah, you should go. Okay, I'll go. But then you don't make any effort to go there. Kuch nahi hone wala, right? So if you want to get there, then you have to get up and start walking. That's what that Karma Yoga path does it for you. That, okay, I have Shraddha, but now I have to start walking. And everybody has heard this famous thing about Vivekanandaji's, what he says, arise, awake, and stop not until you get the goal. Here, Meena ji, are you saying something? Okay.
Same thing as you were saying.
Yeah. And that's exactly where it's coming from. Arise, awake, and stop not until you reach, because it's coming from this verse. Okay? Tatpara. So, say, now what? You have both. Suppose if you have both. Fir kya, agar there is a third thing required. But the third thing is not there, again there will be a problem. So you have the faith in teacher, yourself, and scriptures, everything. Great. And then you start walking on the path. Great. वो भी बहुत अच्छी बात है, right? But the third problem can happen. Your senses are not in your control. Again, there is a disaster. So here is sanyatendriyaha, that word. That means your senses have to be under control. So with those, all three things are required. Because if the senses are not in control, what will happen? हम लोग ने जो एग्जाम्पल देखा ना कि भाई मेरे को ब्यूटीफुल जगह पहुंचना है, मेरे को श्रद्धा है उसमें, मैंने तत्परता है, फिर मैं निकल पड़ी और अब मेरा कंट्रोल में नहीं है, तो रास्ते में कुछ और आया तो मैं यहाँ गई वहाँ गई. शॉपिंग में ऐसा बहुत होता है, राइट? वी गो टू पिक अप वन थिंग एंड देन वी फॉरगेट व्हाट वी आर पिकिंग अप एंड वी पिक अप 10 अदर थिंग. वी कम बैक होम एंड से ओ मैं जिसके लिए गई थी वो तो लिया ही नहीं. Because senses are not in control. I'm just looking here, there, and all that. So, so see how scientific it is, So then when we say control senses, it's not just senses, okay? Senses ke saath mind, intellect, body, everything has to be under control. Not just because your emotions have to be under control too, नहीं तो किसी ने थोड़ा सा इधर उधर बोल दिया, तो, again you kind of, forget it. I don't want to do it. That's what it is. So we should not have other agendas in life, If you want to get this, then you have to stick on that, Karma Yoga path. So single pointed agenda is required. And then, if you see if you read biography of all the realized masters, you will see that how they had those all three things. That's how they kind of progressed. So we can see it too. And then the question comes, the last part of it. Jnanam ladva param shantim. So there are two ways to look at this portion of it. One is, how do you know that you got this? How do you know you are walking on the right path? So some indication bhi to hona chahiye, and we were talking about this right before the class started. If you start getting shanti, that means you are on the right path. Okay? And the other way to look at it is, like Swamiji takes a little different approach. He's saying that we are all, जब तक हम वहाँ पहुँचते नहीं है ना अपने goal तक, तब तक we are at an intellect level. Remember, in the end, we have to transcend the intellect also. We talked about it. Intellect क्या पूछता है? हमेशा फायदा नुकसान की बात बोलता है, सोचता है. मुझे क्या फायदा होगा इससे, है कि नहीं? तो चलो, इसे उस पे भी हम लोग अगर अटक गए तो कोई no problem. There is an answer. फायदा ये होगा कि with this knowledge, with these three things, Shraddha, Tatparta, and sense control, once you get this knowledge, there'll be Param Shantim, he's saying. That's the word. Param Shantim mil jayegi tumko. And Shanti kya hai? So let's analyze that also, because sometimes, the worldly thing about Shanti doesn't fit perfectly what they are talking about Shanti over here. Because what they are talking about Shanti is let's see what the relationship between ahankar and ashanti is, okay? Ahankar is the one keeps rising in us, doubting, oh, maybe, this is not right. Maybe I have to do this. All this maybe, and what if, and all this of ahankar ka talk hai. So ahankar is like a noisy machine. That's what the Swami compared it to. You know how constantly machine is making a noise? Ahankar chalta rehta. Then human beings even get used to it, he said. That noisy machine चल रहा है साथ में. पर कभी कभी हम लोग कोई फैक्ट्री में जाते हैं और नॉइज बहुत चल रही है कॉन्स्टेंटली, एंड फिर अचानक वो मशीन बंद हो जाती है, तो कैसा लगता है ना, एकदम पीस. और अभी पेंडेमिक में कि बहुत सारे लोग घर में होते हैं, तो they everybody is putting TV on, and sometimes they are so much into their show, and the thing is so loud, and I'm like, oh my god, जब वो बंद करते हैं तो कैसा लगता है, शांति. Or women have that experience that when we are cooking, we put that fan on. And you're cooking, and you even forget the fan is on, and when you turn off the fan, and all of a sudden that peace comes. That's what he's talking about. That okay, once you get that ahankar is annihilated, your mind becomes quiet. All the questions go away, and you just have this param shanti. In that only you feel happy. जब तक वो शांति नहीं मिलेगी ना, तब तक हैप्पीनेस नहीं आ सकती. देन थोड़े थोड़े जॉय इधर उधर आती है. एंड व्हाट इज आवर गोल? everybody wants like absolute happiness, absolute shanti. This is what you're going to get from it. So that's the, like, why should I be doing that? Because I want param shanti. That's why, And then there is another verse where it said कि जिसको शांति नहीं है, जिसके पास शांति नहीं है, उसके पास सुख नहीं हो सकता. हम लोग को सुख चाहिए ना, हैप्पीनेस चाहिए. तो शांति is the prerequisite of sukh, basically. And then what kind of shanti he's talking about? He's not talking about shanti, which is like, people talk about this shanti करनी है मुझे, दो countries आपस में बोल रहे हैं कि oh we need peace, वो वाली शांति की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. It is literally shanti of your soul. So वो जो शांति होती है ना, it is not connected with outside क्या हो रहा है. You may be talking and you may be peaceful. You may be बाहर कुछ भी chaos चल रहा होगा, but that peace will not go away inside you. That's why you see this self-realized souls, they are always at peace, no? They don't get disturbed by anything. That's why we want to be in their kind of, उनके समीप रहना चाहते हैं. And then he said that, which this group has experienced that a lot, because you have met different, realized souls, that when we sit in their presence, because of their shanti in their heart and soul, we also feel it. And one of the experience I'll tell you about myself, I had gone to that place where Ramana Maharishi, that Arunachal mountain. And then I didn't know much about it, but two ladies were going, and me and my son was there. All for like 6-7 people we went. And they said, there is a cave up on the mountain where he meditated for 7 years. And we can hike there. It takes about an hour. It was not that difficult hike. Thoda tha. So we went, we hiked up there. And when we entered that little, it was such a little gufa. And they have kept it very nicely, and you don't talk there. The moment you kind of enter there, that peace descends on you. And I could not explain in words what it was. Nobody wants to talk there. You just feel so as though the whole world has become peaceful. I cannot express it, but after reading all this and seeing, I kind of know now what they're talking about. That because he had meditated there 7 years. So that the remnant of his thing is definite, or that energy is still there. That's the kind of peace he's talking about. So, we have to understand the real meaning of peace over here. And then he also said that sometimes, because they have done so much sadhana and all that, उनका कोई पिक्चर भी होता है ना, उसको देख के भी हमको पीस मिलने शुरू हो जाती है. And this, some people say that, they sit, Shiva, for example, the way they have created, the way he sits in the Padmasana and with his half eyes closed and all the different things, Chandrama is there, and, snake, I don't know, the way they have created people who are Shiv Bhakt, unko pucho. They will have Shiva's picture and all of a sudden they become quiet and shant because it all represents that. So even symbols of that sometimes, or kisi ka guru hai, they keep the guru's picture because the moment they sit in front of guru's picture, they feels peace because it just emits, symbolically it comes through that because they have done all that sadhana and all that. So this is what this verse is talking about. And the next verse is basically what prevents us from gaining this knowledge, and lack of Shraddha, this, that, and all will come. But this particular one is this. Any question on whatever I said or comment, or somebody wants to add anything? Everybody okay with it? Okay, let's read Swamiji's commentary.
You're going to do the meaning first, please?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah. Shraddhavan is the man of faith. And like they, जैसे बोलते हैं ना धनवान, तो वान लगा दिया एंड में तो श्रद्धावान, जिसके पास, that's how this word has come, श्रद्धावान, just like धनवान. Labhate means to obtain. Jnanam, we know knowledge. Tatparaha, we went in detail of tatpar hona, devoted. यहाँ पर उन्होंने devoted कहा है, but there's a lot more in it. Sanyat Indriyaha, who has subdued the senses. Sense control. And we have done so much of it in chapter 3, the sense control, how to do it and all. Jnanam is knowledge. And here when they talk about knowledge, it's a self-knowledge. Just remember that. Labdva is having attained. Param is supreme. Shantim, peace. We all know Shanti word. Achirena, eerie long. Adhigachati, goes or gets. So then remember in the previous words, it was like the word was in good time. I'm trying to see the word. In good time, kalena. In good time he will get. And now he's saying soon he will get. Achirena. So that's the thing. Because we cannot be very impatient. In both verses, he has given slightly different words to say, कि good time you will get it if you do this, long before you will get it. बहुत देर नहीं लगेगी, मिल जाएगा तुमको. That's what it means. ठीक है? Okay, who's going to read? Yes, Kamla ji. हाँ, जरूर पढ़िए. You have to unmute. Wait, Kamla ji, unmute कीजिए.
The man who is full of faith, who is devoted to it, and who has subdued the senses, obtains this knowledge. And having obtained knowledge, ere long, he goes to the supreme peace. The qualities that are necessary for an individual to be assured of the knowledge divine are being enumerated here as vividly as from the leaf of a science textbook. 3 great qualities have been indicated, and to understand them is to understand why the so-called seekers, in spite of their claims to sincere self-application, do not actually reach anywhere near the bottom rungs of the ladder of development. Faith, devotion, and self-control are the 3 imperatives necessary to be acquired before we can hope to evolve to the divine stature from our present state of limited being, mortal encumbrances. But these 3 words are more often misunderstood than rightly evaluated.
Okay, so, many times we also feel, oh, मैं इतने सालों से साधना कर रही हूँ, why I'm not progressing. And also here in Bhagavad Gita, they're giving you the roadmap. Then maybe we got to go back and examine these 3 things. Shraddha, Tatparta, and sense control. So that's how it is, that if I'm not progressing, it's not that their method is wrong, my efforts may be lacking. That's how we have to approach it. And now let's see the each ka meaning, because I told you that Shraddha ke naam pe bahut gadbad hota hai. So we got to see what real Shraddha means. Kamla ji, aage badhiye.
Faith, Shraddha, exploiters of religions have been making capital out of repeating this word as their safest excuse for all spiritual problems. So clear to clear which devotees may approach these men who pose themselves as guides in religion. Invariably, we find that the ordinary devotees are completely rendered, sometimes fanatical and about poorer in their intellectual and mental growth because of the unintelligent insistence on Shraddha translated as blind faith and unquestioned acceptance of any declarations said to be divine.
So you see what he's talking about, right? इंडिया में बहुत होता है ये, और some other religions also have that, because I'm saying it, do it, otherwise something bad will happen. It can take such ugly forms. It can take. So he's just cautioning against that,
If this is Shraddha, none of the disciples will ever reach the
Rishi, yeah.
Rishi were men with Shraddha, and the paradox is rather sweetly comic in as much as those ancient seekers seem to have reached their goal, while the present ones who have misunderstood Shraddha do not seem to progress. Often they are noticed to deteriorate perceptibly from what they were before they started to walk the path.
So I know his sentences are very long, and whoever doesn't have a book, he's just saying that अगर ऐसा definition हो ना श्रद्धा का, blind faith वगैरह, तो फिर वो ऋषि मुनि कभी नहीं पहुंचते. और अभी क्या हो रहा है, बिकॉज अगर उसको गलत ढंग से ले लिया श्रद्धा को, तो बोलते कि जितना तुमको प्रोग्रेस किया था उससे भी तुम नीचे गिर जाओगे अगर तुम गलत पकड़ लोगे तो. इंडिया में तो ऐसा बहुत डराते हैं, ये नहीं करेंगे तो वो नर्क में चले जाओगे, ऐसा हो जाएगा, वैसा हो जाएगा. एंड देन पीपल आर डूइंग सम रिचुअल्स, दिस दैट, बिना जाने समझे क्या, एंड फियर में. ही इज जस्ट टेलिंग यू इट्स नॉट, दैट्स नॉट व्हाट श्रद्धा इज. And now Shankaracharya's definition.
Shankara toes the death knell of this misunderstanding when he explains Shraddha as that by which an individual readily understands the exact import of the scriptural text as well as the pregnant words of the advice of the perception.
Perceptor means जो तुम्हारा preceptor. Whatever your guru is saying, try to understand the real meaning of it. That is the real Shraddha. Because misunderstanding and like putting my own thing in it or something and kind of insisting on it, that's not really Shraddha. So I think that's why I was saying that the commentaries of somebody like Chinmayanandji or Yoganandji or some other realized souls and all that is so important, because if you just take the words, हम लोग को समझ में नहीं आएगा वो, because they are सूत्र में लिखा हुआ है, श्लोक वगैरह, they are very powerful shlokas, and there's a lot of things behind it. They are the one who open it up for us. So we have to have Shraddha in their words, and that's why a lot of mananam is required. एक reading में नहीं आता है, because we have to think and we have to contemplate, and then we will get and then we have to have this humility in us. And the prayer भी हो कि हे भगवान जो आप बोल रहे हैं वो मुझे समझ में आए. I keep my own ego away from it and try to understand what you're trying to say, and then when I start getting peace through that, then I know that I'm on the right path.
Devoted to it, tatparaha, whatever be the path of divine self-development that he may be following, it is an unavoidable necessity that the seeker must give his undivided attention to it, and must on all occasions maintain in his mind a continuous consciousness of the divine. A mere intellectual study of the scriptures will not help us in purifying and shaping our within to the glorious beauty of the divine. It is necessary that we must pour out our mind and intellect into the scheme of living that the Upanishads advise.
So basically, it is like what our Acharya used to say, that don't make it a Sunday only religion. That's not going to help you at all. Whatever you learn on Sunday, go and practice it rest of the week, because Karma Yoga is 100% that. Because you cannot say that religion is there, this is my work, they are two separate things. There's nothing like that in Vedanta. Vedanta means you learned and you have to pour it out in family action, friends, work, everything. That's what it is. It's constant.
As you think, so you become is an uncontrovertible law.
Incontrovertible means you cannot control.
Law.
Yeah, you cannot oppose it. That's what it means.
Each one of us is but a fulfillment of our own thoughts. Thus, it becomes evidently clear that a Sunday religion cannot make us divine for the rest of the week unless we are ready to remember those idealisms and strive to live them sincerely all the 24 hours of every day. No ambition in life can be gained by haphazard wishful thinking. And when even that is unaccompanied by sincere effort, it becomes a sheer madness. The Lord is clearly indicating here the urgency of giving our individual faithfulness to the life spiritual.
It is undivided. It's undivided faithfulness.
Undivided faithfulness to the life spiritual. If progress is to be assured, it continues there.
Yeah.
If progress to be assured, without losing sight of the goal, mentally ever entertaining the principles of Vedanta, walk out into the world of battle with circumstances and win the honest bread. This reminds us of Lord's advice to Arjun: remember me and fight on.
So basically, just he's saying that, outside we have to literally fight the battle of our life constantly, right? Arjun had that kind of battle where, real war type of battle. हम लोग के battles different होते हैं. So it's not that over there we forget. No, he's saying that remember me and fight the battle. Meaning, remember all those. You can look at it many different ways when you say remember me. What does it mean? You can say remember the principles of Bhagavad Gita, and stay in that karma yoga mode and all that. You can take it that way also, because it's not like when you say remember me, then people sometimes misunderstand and think, do I have to constantly sit and do bhajan or what? Is that what you're saying, remember me? No, that's not what he's saying. He's just saying that whatever you have learned, remember all that, because that is coming from God only. This over there we said Bhagavad Gita means the song sung by the Lord. That's what it is. He is telling you all these principles. That's why it's Sanatan Dharma, So very important thing. And then this line, everybody knows about this line. As you think, so you become. Anything you constantly think, finally that's what will reflect in your actions. And that's why you cannot be thinking negative and all that in your head and then start doing some work and the work gets spoiled. And then you say, oh, मैंने तो इतनी मेहनत की, कुछ हुआ ही नहीं. Hey, why don't you go and see what you're thinking in your head, So that's what it is. Our thoughts are very, very powerful. And then we saw that in Kathopanishad, how much he grinded on it. When Swamiji told us that thoughts have so much power, they are like that genie of that Aladdin ki genie hai wo, that it can get you what you want, but it has to be right. That's what it is always. Okay.
Just a second, my iPad fell down.
Okay, koi baat nahi. You can fix it.
Who has subdued the senses? The Shraddha and Gyan explained above will not sustain themselves, and no seeker can consistently hope to entertain them unless he is constantly striving his best to live in a spirit of self-control. It is the sense organs that seduce us away.
Seduce us.
Mm-hmm. It is the sense organs that seduce us away into the life of excessive sensuousness, and when one has entered into the troubled waters of a sensuous life, one has no chance of maintaining oneself quietly in the higher values of life. To walk the path divine is to get out of the gutter of sensuousness. Excessive sense life and absolute God life are antithetical.
Antithesis.
God life are antithetical to each other. Where the one is, the other cannot be. where the light of inward serenity and deeper peace have come, the darkness created by sense, passions, and animal appetites must depart. It is imperative, therefore, that a seeker should learn to live in steady and constant sense control.
So here, when he's talking about this sensuous life and all, it's basically, indulging too much in something. And when we say, oh, मेरे पास तो time नहीं है, I'm doing this much, that much, होता है ना, oh, I'm so busy and all that, it is nothing but it is out of sense control. Otherwise सब चीज़ के लिए time है. जो चीज़ हम करना चाहते हैं उसके लिए हम कैसे time निकाल लेते हैं, all it means is this is not my priority at the moment. So when when people say, oh, I don't have time, that's why I don't want to do this, all they are saying is this is not priority in my life. हम लोग खाना खाने के लिए तो कभी नहीं बोलते कि मेरे पास टाइम नहीं है, नहाने के लिए और सोने के लिए तो कभी नहीं बोलते. सो बाकी जो हम लोग फिलअप करते हैं ना, सो लाइक आवर टीचर इन ह्यूस्टन यूज्ड टू रिमाइंड अस दैट अ लॉट कि गो एंड एग्जामिन योर लाइफ. कुछ खाना बनाए जा रहे हो तो बना ही जा रहे हो, सफाई करते जा रहे हो, करते ही जा रहे हो. All that comes under sense control. It's not like just sensuous means, some different thing. No, it is talking about don't overindulge about anything. Friends के साथ टाइम 2-2 घंटा बात कर रहे हो फालतू की, that is also sense control की बात आती है यहाँ पे. So it's like, hey, if you want to do a spiritual life, save your energy from useless stuff. That's what main thing is talking about sense control. Because sometimes we get confused about sense control. वो खाने में परहेज कर लो तो sense control हो गया, ये कर लो. All that is good, but that's not the crux of it. Crux of it is saving your energy from other faltu stuff and putting it in the spiritual thing.
Why should we live renouncing sense enjoyments and employing our mind in remembering constantly the divine goal of life, with faith both in ourselves and in the science of religion? Ordinarily, an intellect can inquire only as to the cause and effect of things. The ego is ever employed in its own motive hunting. A seeker in the initial stages of self-development remains constantly in his intellect. Naturally, he will inquire what the result of such a conspicuous sacrifice would be. To convince him, the second line is given.
So this is what I was talking about, that हमारा पूछता है मन हमको, और हमारा इंटेलेक्ट हमको पूछता है कि मैं ये सब क्यों करूं, why should I be follow this? And because we are still at the intellect level, because intellect or ego is the same thing, everybody understands that, right? When we are using our intellect, that is, we are still under the ego thing. So it's okay, he's giving an answer from the intellect perspective why we should do this, and that is the second line, ki bhai you get param shantim, that's why you're doing it. Because we are always looking for कि मैं क्यों करूं ये जी, उसका आंसर है.
That a seeker who lives the above mentioned triple program of divine life reaches the state of knowledge in the promise and guarantee of his rishis, who are the authors of the immortal scriptures. A doubt again arises as to why we should, after all, acquire the knowledge divine. Krishna explains here that having gained the right knowledge, the individual soon reaches the supreme peace. The promise of reaching the great goal of life is not guaranteed to take effect in a definite period of time. Just as in the previous stanza it was said, in good time, kalena, so too, here it is said, are long. What is this?
Ere long means soon enough.
Asirena. Asirena?
No, achirena. This is the
Achirena.
Sanskrit word. Yeah,
Okay.
achirena.
Achirena. Acharan se.
नहीं, आचरण नहीं.
Very long.
No, wait.
Very long.
Let's look at this word. Chira means बोलते हैं ना चिरकाल. Have you heard Hindi speaking people? चिरकाल तक
Yes.
ऐसा होगा.
चिरकाल तक.
हाँ, तो
Achirena.
अचिरेन
Yes.
means समय की बात कर रहे हैं, not आचरण.
Yeah.
Okay.
Timeless.
So soon enough you will get it. पहले बोला था कि in good time you will get it in the previous verse. अभी बोल रहे हैं soon you will get it, means अगर तुम जितनी मेहनत करोगे उतना जल्दी तुमको मिल जाएगा, basically, you know.
In short, after gaining this knowledge, one would soon reach the goal of life. Supreme peace, Param Shantim. The goal of life is labeled here as the great peace that knows no diminution. In these days of peace mongers getting ready for war in the name of peace, one is apt to become honestly skeptical about the goal indicated in this stanza. The term peace here is not that undefined, vague concept that is often repeated in politics whenever it is convenient for a set of politicians to do so. Rather, it is the term Shanti, which has a wealth of psychological suggestiveness.
He's going to explain in the next paragraph what that he means by peace.
It is very well known that every living creature is, at all moments, trying to gain a better happiness through all its activities in life, from breathing and eating to the organized endeavor in capturing the world market through war and destruction. All activities are attempted by the frail individuals to discover a greater and better joy or happiness. This is true not only in men, but in the animal kingdom, and even in the vegetable world. In short, no action is possible unless the actor is motivated by an inner urge to seek a greater sense of fulfillment or joy for himself.
So everybody understood that. हम लोग का पूरा motive सब कुछ करने का दुनिया में यही है कि भाई I should get a little more happiness, right? And here he's talking about param shanti, means that ultimate one he's taking you to. So, you know, एक बार वो मिल गया तो फिर सब कुछ मिल जाएगा basically.
If thus the whole world is striving to win the highest joy that is possibly can, and having gained it, to invest all energy and intelligence to retain the same, then the goal of life should be absolute happiness, where all strife ends, all desires are fulfilled, all thoughts and agitations are finally exhausted. Desires for joy give rise to thought disturbances, which, trying to fulfill themselves in the outer world, become the visible actions in everyday life. The restlessness of the mind and the weary fatigue of the body shall both end when absolute joy is attained. Therefore, absolute joy is absolute peace.
So he told you the relationship between absolute joy and absolute peace. And you know, all these things that he talked about, that the goal of the life should be absolute happiness, where all strifes end, all desires are fulfilled, and all thoughts and agitations are finally exhausted. So if we are in, हमको जब शांति नहीं है तो वो opposite होता है. We have strife in our life and desires are there, ये करूँ वो करूँ, and then thoughts and agitations, you know. So all those things are related.
Here, in this stanza, the goal of life is indicated as the supreme peace, which may be, in other words, explained as the supreme joy.
So that we have discussed, that actually supreme peace and supreme joy are the same thing. Once you have a supreme joy, you get supreme peace, you have supreme joy. So it becomes one. Supreme peace is supreme joy, you know. I think it's a very, very beautiful verse. Has a lot of loaded stuff in it, and
nice.
Literally like a path is laid out for you. Yeah. So we are not going to take the next one because I don't have time to finish that. So we can, talk a little bit more about this, or we can go to Kathopanishad early. But anybody has any comment, question on this verse?
Yeah, my book is almost saying the same thing. They're talking about two kinds of devotion. The first stage is, you do the physical thing, like, external form of worship. You go to God and, Second is what we are doing now is, devote to the Guru, read the scriptures, control the senses. That is the most important thing, and do the right type of meditation. And when you control the senses, then actually you go deeper in your meditation, and your energy rises from the first three lower chakras to the other open, like from the heart chakra onward, it goes up. So once your energy starts going up, then only you get the union with the God. And once you get union with the spirit, that's the time you know, like why we don't do meditation is because we are just stuck in this enjoyment of what we have already tasted, like good food, good clothes, and all that. But once you enjoy the bliss of the union with God, then once you know that bliss, then you will not go to your bliss. So that's what he's saying. God has given us a free will, and see, we all are also, actually reading the scriptures. Now we can implement it in our lives. Then that's how we are going to control our senses and reach the higher goal of uniting with the spirit. And then when we unite with the spirit, then that's when we get the peace.
Yeah, good. Yeah. And if you guys remember in chapter 3, he told you that how to do that, and we had an example ki, likes and dislikes are there in us. And the sense control means we should rise above the likes and dislikes. So that is one of the very important technique, because we cannot get rid of our likes and dislikes because we are born with the 3 gunas, a certain combination of it. But we can train ourselves not to come under